Good morning. I found this study interesting from a biomechanical standpoint because of how they found the relationship between flexibility, which is the range of motion in a joint, and running economy, which is how well a runner can operate at submaximal VO2 levels in comparison to their VO2 max. So the reason why they did this study was because some studies in the past have suggested that runners who are less flexible in certain areas may enhance running economy by increasing storage and elastic return in that particular muscle. They took 19 highly trained male runners who have all raced a 10K in under 40 minutes in the past 12 months. As a matter of fact, the average time that those 19 males ran their 10K was 34.2 minutes. The average age of those 19 males was 32 years old. The average VO2 max was 67.4. They all trained at an average of about 70 kilometers a week, and they have all been training at an average of 12.1 years, so they're very experienced runners, to say the least. So if you move over to the methods section, you'll see that there are 6 different sessions. The first session is a graded exercise test to determine VO2 max, where they used inspired and expired gases. Session 2 was a flexibility assessment, and the assessments that they actually used in the study were trunk rotation, side bend, external hip rotation, sit and reach, straight leg raise, dorsi, and plantar flexion. And they used goniometers, sit and reach boards, and an anthropometric kit to find measurements in each of those areas, and they used all that data along with the VO2 max data to go on to the next session, which was the treadmill accommodation, which is just a familiarization of the treadmill. They did 3 10-minute running trials at 4.13 meters per second, which converts to about a 6:30 mile pace. And in between each of those 10-minute running trials, they did a 10-minute rest. All of that led up to session 5 and 6. On 2 separate occasions, they did 10-minute running economy tests. Those tests consisted of 1 10-minute run per test at that same 4.13 meters per second, that 6:30 mile pace, where an expired gas sample was taken the last 2 minutes of that 10-minute test. So they took all of that data they received from the VO2 max, the flexibility assessment, and the running economy assessment, and they put it all into different two-tailed t-test, and they came up with this. They found that external hip rotation and dorsiflexion, those particular range of motions in themselves, were shown to be positively and significantly associated with submaximal VO2 from the session 5 and 6 that they did. So basically, the less flexible that person was in the dorsiflexion and external hip rotation, the better running economy they had overall. So based on those 2 particular measurements, they entered that data into a forward stepwise regression model and found that 47% of variance observed in the running economy was predicted solely by dorsiflexion and standing external hip rotation flexibility measures. And the reason why they say is because when the dorsiflexion test measures the flexibility of the Achilles tendon and the calf, and that particular inflexibility allows for the tendons and calf muscles to be more elastic and store more energy. With the standing external hip rotation, they found that the inflexibility causes a lower oxygen demands by stabilizing the pelvic region with those tight muscles at the time of foot-ground contact, consequently reducing the need for more stabilizing muscular activity and therefore an increased aerobic demand and an increased submaximal VO2, also saying it is an increased running economy, which you're trying to get it as low as possible. So there may be some limitations to the study. First of all, they're saying that some of the flexibility measurements may have been irrelevant to aerobic measurements. And when they're measuring VO2 at a submaximal state, it is very important to know that what muscles have an impact on aerobic capacity. And the other one was the speed that they used, that 4.13 meters per second that we talked about so much. Maybe that was too slow to cause other areas of the trunk and lower limbs to become limiting factors in that submaximal VO2. So maybe if they sped up the study a little bit and made them run at a 6-minute mile pace, they would find that sit and reach would have a drastic impact on submaximal VO2 or running economy. There are definitely some things you can see, but very interesting to see that even at the 4.13 meters per second, it was very significant that the dorsiflexion and external hip rotation had a significant effect on running economy, in the fact that the less flexible you are in those areas, the better you perform in running economy, which is different than what we think of in our culture. When somebody underperforms, we think that maybe they should gain flexibility or stretch more, and that may not be the case. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer anything you guys have.